You know why you're here, don't you? It's not the universe conspiring against you, not some cosmic accident that broke you. It's them, the ones who smiled in your face, whispered promises into your ears, and then turned their backs the moment you needed them most. They left you bleeding in the dirt, gasping for air while they walked away like it was nothing, and now they act like you don't even exist. You gave them everything, your time, your love, your trust. You cracked open your soul and let them see parts of you no one else ever had, and what did they do? They used it. They soaked up your love like parasites and left you hollow, drained, empty. When the storm came, you thought they'd stand with you. Instead, they were the first to abandon ship, watching you sink while they swam to shore without a second glance. Now, look at you, picking through the rubble of what they left behind, trying to piece together the meaning of it all. You're scrolling through old conversations, replaying their words in your head, wondering, what did I do wrong? But let me tell you something. Betrayal is never about you. It's about them, their weakness, their selfishness, their inability to handle someone real. People run from what they can't understand, and you were too much for their fragile egos to handle. Betrayal isn't just a single moment. It's not a clean cut. It's a wound that keeps festering, whispering poison into your soul. It infects everything, every memory, every smile, every promise they made. It twists your perception, makes you question your worth, your choices, your strength. It creeps into the quiet moments when the world is still and fills the silence with doubt. They pulled away from you like you were nothing, like you were just another fleeting thought they could dismiss. But you weren't nothing. You were their light, their warmth, their safe place. And when they acted distant, when they ignored you, it wasn't subtle. It was a knife to the gut. And you bled for them. You begged for their attention. You sacrificed your dignity, your peace, and even pieces of yourself just to keep them close while they thrived on your pain. You withered, trying to be what they wanted. But here's the truth they'll never admit. They never cared. They liked what you gave them, your loyalty, your love, your constant effort. But they never truly valued you. You were their warmth on a cold night. But when the fire needed tending, they let it burn out and walked away without a second thought. That's betrayal. A mirror reflecting not who you are, but who they are. It's not just losing them that stings. It's losing the version of yourself that believed in them. It's the death of the dreams you built together in your mind. The future where they stayed, where they cared, where they loved you the way you deserved. That version of you is gone now, and what's left feels like a hollow shell, echoing with what could have been. But here's the thing about wounds. They bleed, yes, but they also heal. Slowly, painfully, but they heal. And this pain you're feeling, it's not here to destroy you. It's here to shape you. Pain is a sculptor, chiseling away the parts of you that no longer serve, refining you into something stronger, sharper, and unbreakable. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." The betrayal, that was the spark. What happens next? That's the fire. They'll never be able to extinguish it. So let's make something clear right now. Affirm this with me. I am better without you. Say it. Declare it. Let it hit like thunder, loud enough to drown out every lie they ever told you. You're not a doormat for them to trample on. You're not an option, not an afterthought, not someone they can discard and come back to when it's convenient. You are the prize they never deserved. Throw it into the world. Let it burn. I am better without you because this is your turning point. This is the moment you take the knife they left in your back and forge it into a weapon of transformation. They thought they were breaking you, but all they did was hand you the tools to rebuild yourself into someone they'll regret losing for the rest of their lives. They think they've won. They think you're stuck, that you're going to spend the rest of your life looking for answers, mourning their absence. But they don't realize that while they're laughing, you're working, you're transforming, you're using every ounce of pain they left behind as fuel to rise higher than they could ever reach. Picture this. They're out there pretending they're fine, chasing their shallow little distractions. Meanwhile, you're building a life so full, so rich, so untouchable, that their existence becomes irrelevant. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, the best revenge is not to be like your enemy. This isn't about proving them wrong. This is about proving yourself right, about becoming the person you were always meant to be, the one who doesn't need their approval to thrive. They'll regret it, of course. They always do. One day, when their games catch up to them, when their lies unravel, they'll look back and realize what they threw away. They'll remember your kindness, your loyalty, your strength, and they'll wish they could go back. But by then you'll be so far ahead, they won't even be a speck in your rearview mirror. Their regret is not your burden to carry. You don't owe them forgiveness, closure, or a second chance. All you owe is to yourself, to rise, to thrive, to live a life so full and vibrant that their betrayal feels like nothing more than a stepping stone. As Epictetus said, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. This is your story now, your life. They don't get a say in it anymore. The fire they lit within you will burn long after their memory fades. So stand up, wipe the tears, and take the first step forward, knowing that the best version of you is yet to come. Say it one more time, louder, stronger. I am better without you, because you are not just better. You're unstoppable. Their betrayal didn't destroy you. It forged you. And now you're about to show the world exactly what happens when someone like you decides to rise. Let's move forward. This is just the beginning. The war inside your mind, this is where the real fight begins. Not with them, but with yourself. The wound they left is deep, but it's not the wound that destroys you. It's the infection. It's the thoughts that crawl into your mind in the silence of the night, whispering lies, tearing at your sense of worth. Why wasn't I enough? Why did they leave? What did I do wrong? These questions are the chains keeping you locked in the past, and if you don't break them, you'll spend your life shackled to someone who walked away without a second thought. This is the battlefield, your mind, and it's ruthless. It will replay every word they said, every moment they pulled away, every time they chose someone else over you. Your mind will twist the knife, convincing you that you're the problem, that you're broken. But let me tell you something. The problem isn't you. It's the story you're telling yourself right now. You're living in a lie they crafted. They made you feel small, disposable, like you were just another chapter in their story. But here's the truth they don't want you to realize. You were never the side character. You were the entire book, and their betrayal, that's just the end of a bad chapter. You've got more to write, and it's time to take the pen back. But let's not sugarcoat it. The struggle within isn't pretty. It's messy. It's raw. It's staring at yourself in the mirror and not recognizing the person looking back. It's the nights when you scroll through their social media, seeing them happy, moving on, pretending like you never existed. It's the mornings when you wake up and, for a split second, forget the pain until it crashes back down like a tidal wave. This is the part where most people break, where they give in to the voices telling them they need to crawl back, apologize, beg for scraps of affection. But you're not most people. You're here because something inside you refuses to quit. Something inside you knows this isn't the end. And that's the first step. Recognizing that the struggle is not your enemy. It's your training ground. Because every time you choose not to call them, not to check their stories, not to drown in self-pity, you're building a muscle they never thought you had. Discipline. And discipline, my friend, is the foundation of freedom. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you chose you? Not them, not their feelings, not their approval. When was the last time you said, I matter more than their opinion of me? If you can't remember, then this is your moment. This is where you stop fighting for their attention and start fighting for your own peace. Because here's the ugly truth. They're not thinking about you the way you're thinking about them. They're not losing sleep over you, not questioning their decisions, not scrolling through your photos, wondering if they made a mistake. And that stings, doesn't it? But that sting, that's your wake-up call. It's the alarm going off, telling you to stop wasting your energy on someone who doesn't deserve it. You see, the struggle within is about choices. Every moment you're making one, to stay stuck in the pain, or to use it as fuel to keep staring at the closed door, or to turn around and see the open road ahead. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." And this is where you decide how you'll react. Will you let their betrayal define you? Or will you use it to redefine yourself? Think of the pain like a forge. It's hot, it's brutal, but it's shaping you into something stronger. Right now, you're the raw material. You've been broken, melted down, and thrown into the fire. But you know what happens to steel in a forge? It becomes unbreakable, and it's okay to feel the pain. Stoicism doesn't mean suppressing emotions. It means mastering them. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Feel the pain, acknowledge it, but don't let it control you. You're stronger than the emotions trying to drag you down. Here's another hard truth. The struggle doesn't end quickly. It's not a switch you flip. It's a war you fight every single day. It's choosing not to send that text when your hands are shaking with the urge to reach out. It's deleting their number, not because you hate them, but because you love yourself enough to move on. It's looking at the scars they left and saying, "These are not reminders of what I've lost, but proof of what I've survived." And while you're in the middle of this battle, let me remind you of something. They don't deserve your pain. They don't deserve your tears, your sleepless nights, your obsessive thoughts. You're giving them power over you. And for what? For someone who walked away? For someone who treated you like an option? You are not an option. You are the prize, and it's time to start acting like it. Every time you resist the urge to fall back into their shadow, you're reclaiming a piece of yourself. And one day, you'll wake up and realize you're no longer fighting for them. You're fighting for you. The struggle within isn't about getting them back. It's about getting yourself back. It's about finding the version of you that doesn't need them. The version of you that's whole, powerful, and untouchable. So when the nights feel endless and the pain feels unbearable, remember this. The struggle is temporary, but the strength you're building is permanent. You're not just surviving, you're evolving. They thought they broke you, but all they did was ignite a fire they'll never be able to extinguish. And now they hold a mask of their ego, a mask of indifference. They act like it doesn't matter, like you never mattered, like their rejection didn't carve through you like a blade. But let me tell you something. It's all for show. Their pride is fragile, their act is hollow, and deep down, they know it. They needed you more than you ever needed them. They fed on your energy, your attention, your loyalty, and now they're scrambling to convince themselves they're fine without you. But you're about to show them what happens when someone like you decides to rise. Let me ask you something. Would you rather stand tall in your pain, own it, let it forge you into something unbreakable, or crawl back to someone who sees you as nothing more than a convenience, a backup, a tool? That's the choice you have right now, and let me be clear, there's only one right answer. You choose the pain, you choose the loneliness, you choose the cold, empty nights over the fake warmth of their fleeting attention. Why? Because standing alone means you're standing for yourself. It means you've taken back your power, and that terrifies them. It means you've got nothing left to lose, and that makes you dangerous. It's time to wake up. This isn't a game. This isn't some romantic tragedy where they come back and everything falls into place. No, this is war. Life is a battlefield, and you're in the middle of it. On this battlefield, it's better to walk alone than to be dragged down by people who don't have the spine to stand beside you when the bullets start flying. Better to be hated for who you are than loved for what you pretend to be. Better to be alone and true to yourself than surrounded by fakes, liars, and cowards who would sell you out the second it benefits them. And here's the best part. When you stand alone, you stop being afraid. You stop needing their approval, their texts, their fake smiles. You start living for you. You start finding power in your own pain, strength in your own scars, and the best part? Oh, they'll come crawling back. They always do. The moment they see you rising, the moment they realize you're thriving without them, they'll act like they never left. They'll spin their lies, telling you they always believed in you, that they were always in your corner. But by then, you'll see right through them. You'll see just how pathetic they really are, because by then, you won't need them. You'll be beyond them, and nothing is more satisfying than watching the ones who doubted you scramble for a piece of your success, only to find the door slammed in their faces. So stand up, wipe those tears, stop looking for them in every shadow, in every passing face. They're not worth your pain. They're not worth your loyalty. They're not worth you. It's time to become your own hero, your own savior, your own champion. Because in the end, it's better to stand alone with nothing but your pride and your scars than to walk with people who don't value you. And trust me, the view from the top, even when you're alone, is better than any smile they ever gave you. You're probably wondering why it happened, aren't you? Why they rejected you, why they left, why they cut you down just when you were beginning to rise. Let me tell you why. Because your growth terrified them. Your strength, your potential, your fire. It was a miracle that showed them everything they could never be. And people like that? Oh, they hate mirrors. They'd rather shatter the glass into 1,000 pieces than face the truth of their own reflection. So they rejected you. They tried to break you, or at least they thought they did. But look at you now. You're still here, barely hanging on maybe, but still breathing. And as long as you're breathing, you've got a chance to turn this pain into power, a chance to be something they'll never be, resilient. They can strip away your trust, your love, your time, but they can't take your resilience. They can't touch your fire unless you hand it to them. And that's what they're counting on. They're hoping you'll fold, hoping you'll crawl back, hoping you'll beg for the scraps of their affection like a lost dog. They want you to believe you need them, but you don't. You never did. You were always stronger standing alone than you ever were with them by your side. You know why I'm telling you this? Because I've been there. I've walked that road. I've felt that knife twist in my back, tasted the bitterness of rejection, carried the weight of betrayal. But I learned something in that darkness. I learned that the only loyalty that matters is the loyalty you owe to yourself. Everyone else? They're just passing faces, temporary distractions in a world designed to test you. So stop wasting your time trying to fit into their mold, trying to win their attention, trying to live up to their expectations. Screw that. Live for you. Stand for you. And if they can't handle it, good. Let them choke on your success. Let them drown in the silence of your absence. Here's the secret no one tells you. When you stand alone, you become a fortress, unshakable, untouchable. They can try to tear you down, but they'll never get past the walls you've built from every scar, every tear, every ounce of pain they left behind. That's your foundation now, solid as stone. And while they're out there scrambling for the approval of the next person who will stab them in the back, you'll be untouchable. Most people don't know how to be alone. They cling to anyone who makes them feel a little less empty, anyone who gives them a sliver of attention, anyone who pretends to care. It's pathetic, really. They live their lives trying to fill a void with fake friendships, fake love, fake validation. And when it all falls apart, as it always does, they're left with nothing but the shattered pieces of their own delusions. But not you. You've tasted the darkness. You've faced the void head on. And now it's time to use it. Time to take that emptiness and turn it into a weapon. They didn't see your value. That's their blindness. They didn't see the fire burning inside you. That's their loss. And now you get to show them exactly what they underestimated. You get to show them what happens when you strip away the lies and embrace the cold, hard truth. You don't need them. You never did. They were just placeholders, temporary lessons on your path to something greater. And now they're nothing more than a memory, a warning sign for who you'll never let into your life again. And here's the real joke. They only come back when it's convenient. They'll show up when they see you rising, when they see you succeeding, when they realize you've built a life they can't touch. They'll act like they've been there all along, like they always believed in you. But you'll know the truth, and by then, you won't care. You'll be so far ahead, their regret won't even register. You owe them nothing, not a smile, not a nod, not a single second of your time. Let them rot in the bed they made. Your victory isn't in dragging them down. It's in rising above them, in building a life so unshakable, so powerful, that their opinions become meaningless. Focus on you, building, rising, and leaving them in the past, where they belong. Because now you're unstoppable. You are a fire, and that's something they'll never touch. And as we move forward, we're going to take that fire and shape it into something extraordinary. The next step isn't about them. It's about you. It's about rising from the ashes and becoming the person they'll regret losing for the rest of their lives. But more importantly, it's about becoming the person who doesn't care about their regret, because you'll have moved so far beyond their reach that their opinions won't matter anymore. The struggle within is where it all begins, but it's not where it ends. Let's take the next step, the Stoic Guide to Rising. This is where you stop fighting yourself and start fighting for your future. Let's go. The Stoic Blueprint for Rising Above. This is where everything changes, not because they've changed, but because you will. The fire of betrayal and struggle has burned away your illusions, leaving you raw, exposed. And now it's time to rebuild, not on the shaky ground of their approval, but on the solid foundation of your own power. This isn't about revenge or proving them wrong. It's about stepping into a version of yourself so strong, so untouchable, that their actions lose all meaning. As Marcus Aurelius said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Step 1. Acceptance, not of the betrayal, but of reality. What happened cannot be undone, and that's okay. Amor fati, love your fate. Every scar, every tear, every sleepless night was necessary to bring you to this moment. To resist the past is to remain its prisoner, but to accept it, that's freedom. Epictetus reminds us, he is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not, but rejoices for those which he has. Stop mourning their absence and start celebrating your own resilience. They left, but you're still here. They doubted you, but you're still standing. That's not weakness. It's proof of strength. Step 2. Detachment. This doesn't mean you don't care. It means you stop letting their actions dictate your emotions. Imagine yourself as a rock in the sea. The waves crash, the storms rage, but you remain unshaken. Detachment. Realizing that their betrayal is the wave, but your strength is the rock. They can rage all they want, but they'll never break you. Step 3. Reclaim your focus. Right now, your mind is scattered, caught in the web of why. Why did they leave? Why did they hurt me? Why wasn't I enough? But the Stoics teach us that the why doesn't matter. Only the what now does. Ask yourself, what can I control? The answer is always the same. Your thoughts, your actions, your next step. And here's the truth. Rising isn't an overnight process. It's a daily commitment. It's choosing to put the phone down instead of stalking their social media. It's choosing to invest in your goals instead of replaying your pain. It's choosing to build a life so full, so vibrant, that their absence feels like a blessing, not a loss. Seneca said, "Throw me to the wolves and I will return leading the pack." That's what you're doing now. They threw you away thinking you'd crumble, but you're about to rise as someone they'll never forget and never have again. This is the moment when you stop looking back and start moving forward. The fire of betrayal didn't destroy you, it forged you. And what comes next isn't just a comeback, it's your transformation. Let's step into it. This is where you take the reins and rebuild yourself into someone unstoppable. Your transformation awaits, rising from the ashes. Your transformation, so folks, this is the turning point where the struggle gives way to growth, where pain becomes the foundation of your power. Transformation doesn't happen in a single moment. It's a process, a series of deliberate choices that reshape who you are. And the first step in that process is freedom from dependence. Part 1. Freedom from dependence. They think they've broken you. They're laughing right now, assuming that you're lying on the ground, shattered, clinging to the wreckage of what they left behind. They think they've crushed you into nothingness, that their absence is your undoing. But you're not going to give them that satisfaction. You are not going to be their trophy of destruction. No, you're going to show them exactly what happens when the person they underestimated decides to rise. They fed off your dependence. Every time you sought their attention, every time you asked, "What's wrong?" or begged for answers, they felt powerful. They saw you crawling and smiled because they thought they owned you. But let me tell you this. Their power over you exists only because you handed it to them. They've been standing on a throne you built with your own self-worth, and now it's time to pull that throne out from under them. Here's what they don't see coming, the version of you that's emerging right now, the one who doesn't need their texts, their likes, their empty promises. The one who realizes they weren't a loss, they were dead weight. You don't need someone who makes you feel small to feel whole. Marcus Aurelius said, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it." And right now, you've been overestimating their importance. They didn't leave because you weren't enough. They left because they couldn't handle someone who was whole, someone who had the potential to shine without them. So let them laugh. Let them think they've won while they're busy basking in their illusions. You're doing the real work, detaching, rebuilding, and rising. They're still playing petty games, but you're about to step into an entirely different league. Stop feeding their ego with your pain. Every tear, every late-night scroll through their feed, every moment spent wondering why is a gift you're handing to someone who doesn't deserve a single second of your time. Imagine them smirking, feeling validated by your suffering. Now imagine turning your back on that image, walking away, and letting it burn. Detachment is your first weapon. It's not a sign of weakness. It's a declaration of strength. You're cutting the strings they've been pulling and reclaiming your power. Stoic wisdom reminds us that we suffer more in imagination than in reality. Stop imagining their importance. See them for what they are, people who were never worthy of you. This is your turning point. Dependence is their game, and you're flipping the board. You don't need them. You never did. They were a passing lesson, a footnote in the story of someone who's about to become unstoppable. Let them watch as you walk away, unshaken, untouchable. Their laughter will die in their throats the moment they realize they didn't break you. They freed you. Part 2. The power of standing alone. They thought leaving you would make you desperate, clinging to anyone who would throw you crumbs of affection. They thought you'd crumble without their presence, that you'd lose yourself in loneliness. But standing alone isn't your weakness. It's your greatest power. Because while they need an audience to feel important, you're learning to thrive in the silence. You're proving that the strongest person in the room is the one who doesn't need anyone else to validate their worth. Let them call it loneliness. Let them think you're isolated. They don't understand that solitude isn't emptiness, it's clarity. In the absence of their noise, you found the space to hear yourself again. You've stopped living for their approval and started living for your own truth. That's what terrifies them. They can't survive without the constant distraction of others. But you're standing tall, unshaken, like a mountain in the middle of a storm. The Stoics understood this power. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." Standing alone doesn't mean being lonely. It means standing with your principles, your values, your integrity. You don't bend to their games, their manipulation, their need to control. You're not their puppet anymore. And that's what scares them the most. Think about it. Who really has the power? The one desperately clinging to a crowd for validation, or the one who can stand alone, unbothered by the noise? That's you now. You're the lighthouse in the storm, lighting your own path while they drift aimlessly, hoping someone else will save them. They fear your independence because it exposes their dependence. They need someone to lift them up, but you lift yourself. Standing alone is not a punishment. It's a privilege. It's walking through the fire and realizing you don't need anyone to hold your hand. It's looking at your scars and understanding that they didn't break you. They built you. Every time they whispered, "You'll never make it without me," they were projecting their own fears onto you. And now you're proving them wrong with every step you take. You've stopped being part of their world, their rules, their shallow little games. You're no longer playing along. And while they chase temporary fixes to fill their void, you're building something permanent: self-reliance, strength, and peace. You don't need their approval, their fake smiles, or their empty promises. You've got something far more valuable: the ability to stand alone and still feel whole. Part 3. Rising beyond their reach. Here's the truth they don't want to admit. The moment you stop needing them, you become untouchable. They wanted you dependent, waiting, hoping they'd come back. But when you rise above them, you destroy the power they thought they had, and that's a blow they'll never recover from. You see, they thought you'd stay in the same place they left you. They imagined you stuck, replaying the past, begging for their validation. But the moment you started focusing on yourself, their grip began to slip. You're no longer reacting to their games, no longer hanging on their every word. And now, you've risen so far beyond their reach that they're scrambling to figure out how they lost control. Marcus Aurelius said, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." You don't need to stoop to their level. You don't need to hurt them, manipulate them, or even acknowledge them. Your success, your peace, your growth, that's the only revenge worth having. Because while they're busy playing petty games, you're building a life they'll never have access to again. Think of it like climbing a mountain. They're stuck at the bottom, throwing rocks, hoping to slow you down, but you're already halfway up. And their words can't touch you anymore. Their insults, echoes, their opinions, static noise in the background. And when you reach the top, you'll look down, and they'll still be there, small, insignificant, powerless. Rising beyond their reach doesn't mean ignoring what happened. It means using it as fuel. Every time they doubted you, every time they tried to tear you down, they gave you a gift. They handed you the fire you needed to rise. And now that fire is burning brighter than anything they've ever seen. They thought they could control you, but all they did was ignite something they'll never be able to extinguish. And here's the beauty of it. You're not rising to prove them wrong. You're rising because it's who you are. Because your value, your strength, your worth were never tied to them. They can't touch you anymore because you've built a life so full, so strong, that their opinions don't matter. They're watching from the shadows, regretting what they lost. But by now, they're so far beneath you, you don't even notice. Part 4. Their regret, your peace. Let's talk about regret. Not yours, but theirs. They didn't see your value when they had you. They didn't appreciate your loyalty, your love, your sacrifices. But now they're starting to realize what they lost. And that regret, it'll eat them alive. But here's the twist. You won't care. By the time they understand the weight of their actions, you'll have already moved on. Their regret won't affect you because you've learned the most valuable lesson of all, that your peace is non-negotiable. They can regret it all they want, but you've found your peace without them. You've grown without them. And now, you're stronger than ever. So let them regret. It's all part of the process. But you've already won. Not because of revenge, but because you've transformed your pain into power. You've built something they can never touch. And that, my friend, is the most beautiful thing you can ever achieve.